They'll never know. They'll never know.
Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to the blue area of the moon to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the Uncanny Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble.
Symbol.
All right, volume 67. So we are back after a busy week last week, an awesome week last week, and with basically again saying thank you everyone for watching live, downloading the episode. It's definitely quickly becoming, if not has overtaken, our Black Widow review. It's fast approaching that, but thank you all. It was a great time. I want to thank Clay, Travis, and Tony for joining us on the Shang-Chi review. If you haven't checked it out, if you're planning on checking out Shang-Chi this weekend, I think we both can highly recommend seeing it. And once you're done, download that episode and give it a listen.
Absolutely.
But how is your week going on, Brent?
It's good. We're finally starting to feel like things are slowing down just a hair. The years past, it would have been a bit more at this point, but we're getting there, so I can't complain too much. And we got some really exciting Marvel Unlimited news of all things tonight. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about it later. Just a teaser for you. But Of all things to really get me excited about Marvel this week, nothing as excited as that Marvel Unlimited news.
Oh gosh, for both of us, there are things we both have been so aggravated and so saying, why haven't they done this yet? All right, well, let us get the plugs out of the way. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows coming at you 6 days a week. We've got, on Mondays, we got my show, World's Finest True Believers, alternating with Ranger Alliance every other week. Ranger Alliance dropped their new episode this week. World's Finest will drop a new episode next Monday, and it is a returning guest. I will give you the guest's name at this point. He is the godfather of the network. Travis Snell makes his return to World's Finest at that point. But the tease will drop. If you're watching right now, tease will drop tomorrow. If you're listening, the tease will drop later this afternoon on Twitter. So pay attention to that. It'll be pretty obvious what we're talking about. Sometimes I can just tease you a little bit, but other times it's just better just to say what we're talking about. So be on the lookout for that. Then we got DC Alliance on Tuesdays. We got superhero discussions on Wednesdays, Star Wars Alliance and Walk Through the Multiverse bi-weekly on Thursdays. And if you paid attention to the Twitter feed, Star Wars Alliance will be going, I believe they said, effective September 22nd, going Sounds every right. week. So we want to wish Katie congratulations on that. We look forward to seeing Star Wars Alliance weekly. Marvel Alliance, as the show will drop on Fridays, and A Slice of Film will be Sundays bi-weekly. And DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse feed on Monday nights, and this show goes live on the Geekverse YouTube feed on Thursday nights. We have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers, $1 tier, our tip jar to say, hey, we appreciate you, we're doing well. And then we've got our $5 tier that gives you early access episodes, ad-free episodes, and exclusive Patreon episodes. I know we got some stuff brewing for this upcoming month. Hopefully, as Travis Hines likes to say, we're hopefully get that last Ronin number 4 review. He likes plugging that way. And then we want to send well wishes to Travis. Right now, he is a little under the weather. So as you can see and hear, he is not joining us tonight. He is very upset about that, but we wish him a speedy recovery for that. He does not have COVID, thank God. So he did get tested. So thank goodness about that. And so that's there. And if you can't join us on Patreon, but again, thank you to our patrons who do. We really appreciate. Can't do this without you. Why don't you throw us that 5-star review on our solo feed and or the Geek Ultimate Alliance feed? We do appreciate those 5-star reviews and the positive feedback. Thank you so much for that. And let us, as always, plug our official sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Organic Price Books for all your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. Let us see what's coming up for the Marvel Final Order Cutoff. Oh, well, this is right up Brent's alley. Look what is up for Final Order Cutoff for guaranteed pre-orders. We have 3 covers for the first time ever back in print after over a decade of this was the very first Omni that Marvel ever produced, and they have never reprinted it until later this year. This is the big test. So if we want the entire run collected in Omni format, this has to sell. So we've got 3 covers. I will already let you know, I have bought the Venom and Spidey one, the DM. You can only get this one right here and the Joe Quesada one on places like Organic Price Books. It is the only way you get those covers. So you get your pre-order in. It guarantees you it will be in. Right now, the street date is November 16th. So be on lookout for that. But if you want a guaranteed pre-order, make sure you get it in by the 12th. And if you decide to do that, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout, $2 off every single order. Let them know that Marvel line sent you. We want to, again, thank Organic Price Books for sponsoring the show. And I'll do a quick plug if we're talking about Spidey. Volume 5 of Amazing Spider-Man, the omnibus at this point. So this is the latest edition, the cover of 151. Some great classic stories there. So from Organic Price Books, my place where I shop all the time there. So all right. We've got episode 5. We've got one that we've been waiting on since since the trailer we saw. It's like, oh my gosh, we're doing it. We've got What If Zombies.
Great name. I like it. Just zombies. Just right to the point.
It wasn't even like what if what we found out actually happened that causes zombies. It was just what if zombies. So, high-level thoughts before we get into spoilers.
I liked it. You know, I liked the original Marvel Zombies books, or at least the first couple volumes of it written by Kirkman, and then someone else came in and wrote it. I don't remember who. Those didn't really connect with me as much, but the Kirkman ones I really enjoyed. I know there were some call-outs to it from this. I'm sure you probably know them more than I do. Yeah. And so I'm going to let you mention those. But overall, I mean, spoilers, I guess. Man, watch out for Hank Pym because that guy is causing trouble.
He is 0 for 2 in the What If series at this point for saving the universe.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I'm like, he kills all the Avengers a couple weeks ago. He effectively killed them again this week. Ridiculous. But fun episode. I really enjoyed seeing Spider-Man. It was great to see Spider-Man in like a new Marvel Studios thing on Disney Plus. That was awesome.
Well, did you catch? He is a legacy, the voice actor. Josh Keaton, the voice of Peter Parker Spider-Man, was the voice of Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yep. And I think that's really cool that they brought him in to do that. And didn't they do the same thing with Tony Stark with his little bit in the episode where Hank Pym killed him?
I cannot remember, but that would track.
I like that idea. Bring in the previous, like, sure, if you can get the actual movie cast to do it, great. I'm in favor of that. But I'm not. It's fine. Like if you can get someone else, I think it's bringing in those legacy actors. I think that's awesome. I love seeing Spider-Man. I loved what they did with him. He had a really great moment with Hope in this one, and just overall, it's fun. Zombies were fun. I was laughing. I was thinking, oh, that's gross. And those are the two reactions I want in a zombie thing, you know?
Exactly. And yeah, I'm a big fan of the series. I posted in the chat. I actually met one of the big famous things of the series itself is Arthur Syndham's covers he's done for the entire series. A lot of the series at that point. The series has gone through, I think, 5 numbered Marvel Zombies up to 5. They've done Marvel Zombies Supreme, Marvel Zombies Resurrection. They keep on bringing this back up over and over again just because it tracks. But I'm like you, probably after 2 or 3, it kind of became a parody of itself. I still read it. I do enjoy it. It just doesn't land as well. But the covers that Arthur Syndham does, either paying homage to some of the famous covers of Marvel history at that point, but zombified, and then horror zombies. There's one that you cannot find on Marvel Unlimited, and I can't even remember if you can even find on Comixology. They did a crossover with Ash from Evil of the Dead, so it was Marvel Zombies versus Army of the Dead. It was really cool.
Interesting.
But yeah, it was a cool. This is something that, one of those things that I'm very glad they did this in animation, because I don't know how much we will get of Marvel. I would love it, the possibility of if we even get a hint of this more in the MCU. I know we got that little scene from Tony Stark, in Far From Home, the coming from the grave at that point, but it'll be interesting. All in the Games in chat said no, they were going for a Shaun of the Dead Zombieland vibe. Yep, about 5% less jokes would have been good. Yeah, it would. Yeah, they definitely do that. I'll call out some of those kind of callbacks and Easter eggs at that point, but I really enjoyed the episode. For some, I know I saw like this was their favorite episode. So still, last week's is still my favorite, and I think this one, I think it's followed by the uh, T'Challa Star-Lord episode, and then this is third, and they're all kind of last week's just still holds number one. I think the T'Challa and Marvel Zombies are kind of tied right now because they both bring different things to it, and I think that this was something that they took just little bits and pieces of what we've seen in the MCU movies and then really ran with it in a different way.
Yeah, definitely. And, it starts off with Bruce Banner coming in from Infinity War, right? Like it's the Infinity War start. And
perfectly shot, like shot for shot of Infinity War to this.
But it's different because he doesn't find Wong and Doctor Strange. He just, he does eventually find them, but there's nobody there in the sanctum. And there's just zombies everywhere. And I've seen some criticism that the zombies, like the zombies who were Avengers, like were able to operate their powers. Tony was able to use a suit. They seem to be thinking, to which I just say, they didn't seem like your typical mindless zombies. Like, we saw Wanda and she clearly like grieved over Vision. Like they clearly had thoughts and wants, and I liked it. I thought it was a nice different little twist on what we normally get from a zombie story.
Exactly. And in the comics, they have full operation of their powers, but they also talk and they think. They still have maybe their intelligence goes down just a little bit at that point because of the hunger, the thirst for human flesh at that point. In the comics, Hulk is a zombie himself, and when he turns back into Banner, his stomach is too small to digest the bodies he just did, so it splits him open in half, and he tries to turn back into Hulk. Never happens again at that point. But so people who are criticizing that, you're used to a certain other zombie, but again, you read the comics, they took the best of both worlds. They let them have their powers, they let them have some mind to them at that point, and all in the game is saying, mindless zombies would have been dull. I think it just wouldn't have brought something different to the table, and it would have lost the whole thing about, these are zombies with powers, what do they do? It kind of loses its luster on that.
Like seeing Hank Pym, like all joking aside, seeing him shrink down and use his powers, and seeing Iron Man operate his armor, like that's fun. That's cool. That's different. And that's what the show is for, just get these different kinds of things. So I'm glad they did it that way. I understand where people are coming from. I just don't agree with them.
Yeah. What about how about the, what we saw in Endgame as the portal scene, everyone enjoys for this one. This portal scene went very badly, including the, when they did the little Avengers cue at that point. The Avengers. Oh no, this is no, this is going horribly wrong. Yes, kill the kill Obsidian and Maw, but not your Avengers we want right now.
Not the typical thing. And it's kind of funny that they were able to take out Obsidian and Ebony Maw a little easier this way. And so it's just when you eat them, it's easier to handle, I guess.
Very much so. But I like how we see, immediately, because at first, until we saw what's doing this, like we ends up being the army of ants ripping the flesh off the zombies. That was grotesque and awesome at the same time.
Yes, that's a great way to describe it. Absolute great way to describe it. And it was cool to see like more of Hope. I'm glad we're getting to see like I feel like they're raising her importance level almost, like she was, her death was a triggering event for a couple episodes ago, and she had a major part to play in this week's, and that was really nice to see.
Very much so. But this was probably probably the episode where we have the most returning voices from the movies come back. Obviously, Peter Parker, we said, is not played by Tom Holland, but I want to say the rest were our voices we expect.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to double check Evangeline Lilly. Yeah, she's on the list. I saved a list a while ago that got published of all the returning cast. So when I question, I can just pull them up. I think you're right. Wanda wouldn't have been, but she didn't have any lines.
They didn't decide to pull a Tim Roth and Shang-Chi and have him grunt and mocap.
Right.
But what I liked really about this was I think it was very cool to see this combination of characters work together.
Yeah, it's a very different group than we normally have. We had Spider-Man and Black Panther. Seeing T'Challa again was fantastic. Mixed with Hope and Sharon Carter and Bucky and Kurt from the
Yeah.
Ant-Man movies. I love that
I
I just started cracking up when I saw Kurt's name on the screen.
David
So
Dastmalchian, if
good.
I've been pronouncing his name right, I
Yeah,
apologize at that point.
Dismalchin. Yep.
Dastmalchian. What a moment he is having.
He's having a
Seriously.
year. I mean, he's the comic multiverse in one person. He absolutely
He
is.
really is. They say Spider-Man can cross multiverses. No, this man
David
himself.
Dismalchin between I would lose him all, but Dark Knight, The Flash, Suicide Squad, Ant-Man, now What If, like he's done so much.
Mhm.
I wanted to mention that I also really enjoyed Bucky's voice performance in this one. I thought it was is there still room for improvement? Sure, but I thought it was a much stronger outing than that first episode that we got.
Yeah, he's still, if we have to compare, like he is weaker than the rest of the cast. However, I agree. It is an improvement on it. It's just, there's some people, and it's, if he wants to continue down this path, he definitely needs a little bit of training in the sense of like what a voice actor does. I don't know if that's something that he wants to do, but I think there's a lot of good potential there. But you can definitely tell this is something a very first time for him that doesn't come naturally at that point. But yeah, I agree. Definitely an improvement. I like how the way we get the zombies, because this could have gone a lot of different directions. I mean, the theories when we found out Marvel Zombies was going to be happening and What If, the theories were abound on like maybe this is what happened instead of the snap wiping out. This is what really happened. It turned people into zombies, half the population. I thought that was a good theory. But the idea that when Hank goes in the quantum realm to rescue Janet and finds out she's infected with a quantum virus, bites him, and the rest is history, that is very interesting, and it'll beg to question at this point, another alternative timeline in the sense of, I've said before in the show that you can clearly see a city in Quantumania that many people, including myself, say that could be Chronopolis, Kang's little area at that point. Maybe this was something that Kang wanted to try out in this multiverse.
I mean, absolutely possible. And I really liked what Hope had to say about that, where basically she was so obsessed with finding her mom, she didn't see the potential problems with it. That kind of fits my memories of Ant-Man and the Wasp. I haven't watched it in a while, but that sounds about right. And yeah, just the difference, is Kang involved? How did Thanos get zombified? I would like to see that story. When did it happen? Because if you look, that final shot, he's got most of the stones. How did they get to him? But
And when did it happen? If he got most of the stones, did he get most of the stones before he got zombified, or was he able to acquire some while he was a zombie?
Yeah, in fact, I'm just going to bring it up now. I know it's out of order.
Go for it.
DC Outlaw asked a question about that. How did he get the time stone? We never saw him in Doctor Strange. So when would he have gotten it? And in fact, why would he have gone to Wakanda at the end when Vision wasn't there? Well, that part's easy. The Mind Stone was still in Wakanda because Peter, T'Challa, and Ant-Man had it. And so they took it there with him. But that first part, how did he get the time stone? I think that's a really interesting question. I don't feel like it's a plot hole or anything like that. And that's not what he was saying. But I'm just I'd like to see that story. Did he have a run-in with Doctor Strange and get the time stone? We don't know. I mean, we don't even know that Strange had the time stone at the beginning of the episode when we saw him, because it's What If, the timelines are different. The universes are, Sharon Carter was with them and she was not with them at this point.
And I love it. One of her superpowers is giving one of her best things is eulogies.
that was clever. I felt like I probably shouldn't be laughing at that joke, but here we are.
Yeah.
And, Bucky he hadn't left Wakanda yet at this point, but he was obviously out of it. T'Challa wasn't running around with the Avengers during this time frame, but he was with them when they first showed up and Hank Pym turned them all into zombies. Obviously there are differences, but I did think it was a good question just because I would like to see how Thanos got the stones.
Oh yeah. And if anyone's interested in actual reading about Marvel Zombies at that point, the characters of the idea of Marvel Zombies that introduced in Ultimate Fantastic Four, I wish Brent will probably be quicker with me, can find the exact issue numbers that they got introduced into, but it came into that Mark Millar was doing that arc at that point, and then they said, hey, what if we do a series about this? So Kirkman came on, did a 5-issue series. They did a one-shot called Dead Days that talked about how the virus came. It was another dimension, dropped in here, infected our heroes, and the rest is history. So I like what they did with the MCU, though. I think that's a very plausible thing that could have happened.
I will tell you, and only because I had looked it up earlier. It's a story arc called Crossover. It starts in Ultimate Fantastic Four number 21. Now, here's the thing about Ultimate Fantastic Four. If you're gonna go look this up, the first 6 issues are fine, and then it starts to go off the rails. This arc is okay, and then it's not the best book, but eventually they radically change who Reed Richards is. That version of Reed is still around. He's called the Maker, and he's far more interesting. But
we'll leave it at that.
That book is just weird. It is kind of cool though, because like the way this crossover was being advertised and billed, you were made to think that it was a crossover with the 616 universe, and then you found out it was with the zombies.
Yep.
And then we got the whole zombie universe in the miniseries a few months later. Pretty awesome stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. So check that out. I'm with Brent. Out of all the Ultimate line, Ultimate Fantastic Four just did not land as well. And by the time they finally found their footing, it lost a lot of readers, including me. So, but yeah. So, anyways, getting back to the episode itself, what do you think about Peter's video? Because I'm a big fan of zombie movies, and the harkens back to zombie land, how to survive the rules in an apocalypse. We see Happy Hogan, you said Kurt, Bucky, Sharon, Okoye. I thought the video was definitely a cool callback to what was it? Homecoming then? Yeah, Homecoming.
A little bit like Spider-Man Homecoming, the beginning of that. And then, yeah, like it definitely gave Zombieland vibes. And I had not seen Zombieland until Zombieland 2, what was it called? Double Tap, I think, was in theaters. And I had the day off work, no one around. I watched Zombieland 1 in the morning and then went and saw the sequel in the afternoon. And so whenever that was, is the only time I've seen those movies. But I'm glad I've seen them for this, because I did find it pretty funny. And yeah, like that, it just felt like that. Follow the rules. It felt like that's what they were kind of harking back to. I do want to mention this thing with Peter and the cape. I thought that was pretty funny. I kind of thought they were going to have it on him a little more. I would have liked to have seen that, but ultimately sliding over that cloak of levitation to Ant-Man so that our Futurama style Paul Rudd head could at least still have some mobility, I thought was probably a good move.
What did you think about it, when we saw the headquarters that they were in at that point? This is like all the webbed up train cars or buses at that point. I'm like, Iron Man can still fly. How did they survive this long at that point?
I mean, not perfect, but they could probably face off against just Iron Man. I mean, they had enough power there. I guess that's what I'm going to go with anyway.
Yeah. It was just the one thing I was like, yeah, we did see you could fly. Like you said, not well, but I guess and then we see the return to Camp Lehigh at that point. I thought the cool thing was them traveling around in the mini car. That that was a nice callback. The idea of, I like Okoye is saying we don't need not zombie movies because they have American reality TV.
Yes. It's a good burn against all of us.
It's a good burn, and she wants to split up, which Peter says, I'm not sure if that's a bad idea. And if she watched zombie movies, she would have seen that's a bad idea.
Yeah. The splitting up, rookie move, Okoye, rookie move. Not often you would say that about her. What do you think about our Winter Soldier versus Captain America fight?
That was cool. I liked the back and forth that they had. It was a quick back and forth. The line that he does when he finally basically truncates him at that point, cuts him in half with the shield, saying, "Guess this is the end of the line."
Yeah,
harkening back to what he told Steve at the first Avenger.
Almost
hurts. To the end of the line.
That line almost hurts.
But even when Okoye cuts through Falcon at that point, she asks Bucky, "Are you okay?" And he just says, at this point, we don't know. It's been probably, if I've been watching a few of the kind of recap videos and people's theories, that was, if timeline serves, this happened in about 2 weeks from when Hulk gets sent down. They were talking about like Hulk's usually sent down immediately, but somehow if timeline said this kind of happens in 2 weeks, this outbreak. So it's interesting that he's kind of accepted, some of his friends are going to be killed.
Yeah, and if you think about it, he really wasn't that close to Sam yet anyway. That all came later. And so He had worked with him a bit, but that all came later.
On the game saying Iron Man was supposed to wear the cape and Doctor Strange his armor in Infinity War and Ebony Maw's ship, but wasn't shot. Yeah, I did remember hearing about that.
Interesting.
What was one other thing? Oh, we see, unfortunately, Sharon gets turned and Hope goes into her mouth and bursts around the line saying, "I'm covered in Sharon," which is again cringy and also awesome at the same time. But then we find out, unfortunately, Hope is cut at that point, so we know her time not being human is very falling fast. And I think that was another very good moment, our quiet moments, our best non-fighting, non-action moments in the MCU, the discussion that Hope and Peter has.
Yes,
and let us finally say it. We now have confirmation that Uncle Ben has been verbally uttered in the MCU by Peter Parker.
Yeah, Fanboy Clay asked if we think people will stop complaining about it. No.
This will make it worse. This will make it a lot worse.
And Tangent, I'm kind of hoping there's some Uncle Ben direct acknowledgement in the next Spider-Man live action movie to shut some of that up.
Yeah, I think I'd say both of us are like, yeah, should have been saying Uncle Ben at some point, probably in the first two movies. Yes. I don't think that some kind of, we don't have to dwell on it, but I think it's been a lost opportunity.
There's been a couple opportunities where they could have done it and it would have been pretty organic. Most notably to me, Mysterio and Peter talking in the bar before Mysterio outs himself. Mm-hmm. He definitely could have mentioned it there. But regardless, having just watched the 3 Tobey Maguire movies and the first of the Andrew Garfield ones, my Lord, I totally get why they wanted to take a break from the origin and that, because my God, they harp on Uncle Ben so hard in those movies. Mm-hmm. And he's important, but my goodness, by the time we get to movie 3 of a trilogy, you don't need to talk about Uncle Ben every 5 minutes.
That is true. But yeah, you already mentioned when they go to the base, Hope sacrifice, very touching, telling Peter to keep smiling. I think she went out the hero's way out on that one.
Definitely.
Finding out Vision is on the base. He's made a home in Zola's brain. Because
why not?
Yeah, and the Mind Stone's the key to what's keeping the zombies at bay. I like you said, Scott Lang being the head in the jar. You made the Futurama reference. In the comics, it's actually Janet Van Dyne's head in the jar. I won't tell you how it gets there. Find out on your own. It's also a callback to the Reanimator movie when a head is brought back to life. That was kind of interesting seeing Vision brought into this and bringing in the Mind Gem. What did you think about that? The inclusion of Vision in this?
Man, Wanda and Vision, they should just be separated from each other because their relationship is destructive. Holy cow, Wanda's overtaking cities. Vision is straight up feeding people to zombies. It's and I get it. It's all in the name of love, right? But my word. And I know, T'Challa, he had been feeding T'Challa to Wanda. He only had one leg at this point. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't that happen in the comics too, where he only had...
It did happen in the comics, and who was doing the feeding at that point to himself? That would be Mr. Hank Pym. Captured T'Challa, drugged him, sedated him so that he could enjoy him at leisure at that point. Right. Janet finds out, and Hank and Janet have a fight. And I'll just say, remember how I said Janet's head ends up in the jar? Do your math on that one.
Yeah, figure that one out.
Figure that one out at that point. But yes, that is also a very good callback to the comics itself. But just like you're saying, it's a destructive relationship, everyone around it at that point. But the idea that I found it interesting that they're able, and people saying, oh my gosh, how are they able to keep Wanda at bay? It was like, well, she's a zombie. She's not fully, you can't say she's fully powered, and
this would, going off the prime timeline, this would be before she fully unlocked her Scarlet Witch abilities also.
Yeah.
So it's a weaker version of Wanda.
Mm-hmm. And the idea that Vision deciding to help the heroes, I did like the as the cape's taking hold of Scott, he says the levitation spell from Harry Potter. That was kind of funny.
Scott had, yeah, not all of his jokes worked. He was probably the one person, which is ironic because Paul Rudd is so funny, whose jokes I struggled with a little bit more. I really like the others. It's a little dodgy, but that one was good.
Vision ripping out his mind stone like Thanos did at that point. I did see some people on Twitter complain, like, how is Peter or Banner at some point holding the Mind Stone, since, at that point, if you pay attention at that point, I did this on my second viewing, Banner and Peter or whoever else is holding it, they're holding the vibranium casing of the Mind Stone, so that's why it's able to be down. Let me ask you this: when Bucky went against Wanda, do you think Bucky survived her basically punting him to God knows where?
I mean, if he did, it's only because there were no zombies around wherever he landed. But true. I think he would have survived the fall, but probably died from his injuries or been eaten. My guess is if we get a follow-up as What If Zombies 2 with the next season, my guess is we will not be seeing Bucky in that episode.
Yeah, unfortunately. But Hulk, if we remember correctly, when Banner talks about in Avengers when he tried to put a bullet inside of him, the big guy spit it out. Well, the big guy also didn't let him get bit, but when he started running in there, he hulked out, and we got a fight that I didn't know necessarily we would ever get. Hulk versus Wanda.
It's definitely different. I kind of expected Hulk to end up being zombified, like for some of the virus or blood or whatever to have gotten inside of him, maybe like as he was transforming between Banner and Hulk. Regardless, Hulk versus Scarlet Witch, even Scarlet Witch, who's not necessarily at her top of her game, that's fun to watch.
Oh yeah, very much so. But we see the resurrection of Hope as a zombie, holding back the quad jet. I think that's what they call it. They didn't call it a Quinjet. They call it a quad jet. Yep. Quad jet. And I love the little Star Wars little thing. If you pay attention, it's the same sound as the Millennium Falcon when it can't jump to hyperspace. So that was a nice little. I caught that immediately when I heard it. That's the Millennium Falcon when it can't take off. But I did chuckle when they finally got away from her and she chucks just a random zombie at them. What she's expecting from that?
Sure. Just you use what you got to use, I guess.
But then T'Challa, always being T'Challa, has the great lines, the great Chadwick Boseman, death is not the end. They're still with us as long as we remember them. And God, that line hits even harder now.
Really does. It really does.
And then we think, oh, they're going to make it to Wakanda, but no, Wakanda's been taken over by zombies, and there's Thanos waiting for the final gem that they're directly bringing him, and the episode ends. So now we have had basically 3 episodes in a row where we have ended on a major bummer. And we've talked about we've talked about this before. Many what ifs do end on a big bummer at that point, but I know some people's like, man, I wanted more. I was saying, that's what I think the good and the bad with What If are. These are 1-issue arcs. At that point, they do this, but I think we've seen, based on the trailers, there's going to be some sort of connection very soon. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
It's going to have to be soon because we're past the halfway point now.
Exactly. But I thought it was a great episode. I think it was a great inclusion. I applaud Marvel for going as dark as they did and showing that you can do zombies and not be blood, gore, and guts. Like, you can be gory, but you don't have to do the blood. It's more cartoony. They leaned to. So this was a very fine line. So it makes me wonder if and when Marvel ever goes a little bit darker with your characters like Blade and Moon Knight and things like that are of that nature. Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, I know they said that, like, I think it was Feige's talked about basically Phase 4 projects will be fair game for What If Season 2. Yep. So we'll get some different takes.
We do have a confirmation that Black Widow will be one of the episodes. So
yes.
So yeah, all in the game saying, we still need Party Thor and Gamora episodes before the new team comes together. True. I think the leaks were that the idea was this week was supposed to be Party Thor. For whatever reason, it wasn't. So the leaks were wrong.
That's what I thought it was.
Yep. Yeah. So they either had to change up, but the leaks got it wrong. But maybe I think next week. So I'm hoping it is, because I would like a little bit maybe of more humor for next week at that point. Not everything needs to be a bummer, but I mean, they're good. I mean, every episode has been really, really good in upping the game in a different way. So
we also need to meet Killmonger and Tony Stark.
I think that might be the penultimate episode. I think they might be saving that one.
I could see that, and then bring them all together for that final one.
Because we do need to see him in the armor. Maybe if he's in the armor. We're assuming. So, all right. Well, any final thoughts on What If before we take our first ad break?
No, let's go ahead.
All right. So, listeners, as you know, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So, I'm going to give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right. So, Brent, I'm going to turn this first news story to you. You are Mr. Box Office. You are Mr. Business for this show. So when it comes to this stuff, and we've been waiting on pins and needles all until Sunday and then Monday to find out what was Shang-Chi doing. We kept on hearing good numbers. Even on Friday night, we were seeing very good trajectory. How good did Shang-Chi do?
Well, I had a phenomenal weekend. But before we dive too far into that, I got to mention one thing because I keep reading this and it's never been confirmed. People keep saying that Shang-Chi is coming to Disney Plus in 45 days. We don't know that to be true. Mm-hmm. We just know there's a 45-day exclusive theatrical window. Disney could decide to keep that window, to have that window go longer. They could decide to go to Disney Plus. They could decide to go traditional VOD / Blu-ray stuff before Disney Plus, iTunes. I just wanted to remind people, like, we don't know that in 45 days we're going to get to watch Shang-Chi at home on Disney Plus. I just had to put that out there to start with.
You are correct. Nothing has. We've made the assumption at that point. My question is, has any Disney or Marvel property gone from anywhere to VOD after their theatrical run? Because there is a
Marvel-wise, no. Marvel-wise, to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Black Widow's the only other one we've had.
Yeah, no, I'm talking like prior Disney Plus. I've never done VOD really.
So. They always go VOD first, and then the streaming window comes afterwards. It's just It was on Netflix or Hulu or wherever it was.
Yeah. So, okay.
So it would be very normal for it to go there first. Now, Black Widow, they said, was coming to Disney Plus in like 3 months. And I think that's October. Cruella is already there. And I know that was a Premier Access one. So for those Premier Access ones, I think they're treating them differently. I hope Shang-Chi's there in 45 days because it means I'll get to watch it at home.
Mm-hmm. That would fall under with Free Guy too, since that's technically now owned by Disney.
Free Guy is a little different though, because it's owned by Disney, but it had a deal with Fox. It's going to go to HBO Max probably first because they had a previous thing, which for both of us, we have HBO Max. We'll watch it there. Not that big a deal. And
please don't go to Disney Plus.
But regardless, I don't plan on buying Shang-Chi on iTunes. I'm just I'm going to wait for Disney Plus. I would just watch it there. It's not like I'm going to unsubscribe anytime. But all right, let's hit the box office. Mm-hmm. It did amazing. It was projected in like the $40 to $55 million range for his 3-day weekend. And worldwide, they were projecting $90 million. Well, domestically, it did $75 million. And I don't remember what the 3-day total was. I don't have it written down. I want to say it was 127, but I could be making that number up. But regardless, they crushed it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. For 4-day domestically, they're up to 94 million, and that's counting Labor Day, tripling the record from 2007's Halloween. 2007? 2007's Halloween.
2017.
I think it was older than that.
Oh, really? Shoot. Yeah. You check me on that.
I'm pretty sure it was 2007. Regardless, it was a long
we got
time.
The movie right.
It's a record. Labor Day weekend is not traditionally a good movie weekend. And so in the pandemic, and they still set the record. Now, is it the All in the Games confirming 2007 in the chat? Thanks for that. Is this still Marvel numbers? Probably not, if we're being honest. I mean, Black Widow did 80 million. Right. And as everybody's going to tell you, they also did 60 million of Premier Access at the same time. I'm going to remind everybody, because they seem to forget this, that's a global number. That 60 million is not a domestic number. It's awesome, but it's a global number. All we know for sure is Black Widow did 100 million opening weekend with the theatrical and with Premier Access combined. Disney did tell us it was north of 100 combining those two. So we know at least 20 million of it was domestic, but we don't know how much.
And remember, again, Disney Plus is one of those few streaming apps that are new streaming apps that are actually global. HBO Max.
Hey, HBO Max is getting there though. They're getting there
slowly. I'm just saying right now. No.
Credit where it's due. They're pushing right now. But you're right. They're still not in as many markets. So here's the thing about Shang-Chi. Here's what everyone wants to know. What's going to happen with Venom? What's going to happen with Eternals? And what's going to happen with Spider-Man? Because those are the next big movies, comic book wise. There's others, of course. There's the James Bond movie. There's Matrix. There are other movies, but these numbers are fantastic. These aren't numbers that makes you run and hide and say, okay, they definitely have to push Eternals. Like they have no choice. They have to do it. These are really good numbers. In fact, they're so good that Sony moved up Venom. We're going to talk about that in a minute, whatever. I'm mentioning it now. Sony is moving up Venom because of these numbers. They flat out said because of the Shang-Chi numbers. That is absurd. They moved it up a couple more weeks. Didn't we just talk about Venom getting delayed on this show and now they're moving it up?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that more in a sense. It was, they said they want to capitalize on it, and I'll just say, your Venom. There's a difference between Venom and Shang-Chi, but I'll table that discussion for later. But yeah, they did that at that point. But my interest at this point, we also want to say, I think it was yesterday, Shang-Chi officially crossed 100 million. They crossed 100 million.
It did cross 100 million yesterday. This thing from All in the Game, the Disney Plus Black Widow number is at least 125 million as of August 15th, according to Screen Rant. That's actually according to Disney. They put that in a court filing. So Screen Rant reported it, but that's according to Disney. The only thing we don't know about that 125, or the two things we don't know is how much of that is global versus domestic, because most of these numbers have been domestic. We've been talking. And if you read what they actually wrote, it doesn't say Disney Plus. It says like streaming and downloads. So how much of that was included in, like, it's available on iTunes, right? Or are those numbers included? We just don't know, and they didn't specify or clarify that there.
So my question at this point, I know Travis Snell talked about it on Geekverse, and I had the same kind of question in the sense of, okay, so Black Widow does in its first weekend 80 million, and that includes, plus the 60. We got 80 million domestic. Plus the 60 added onto the global. So in the first weekend, what was the total again for the first weekend?
For Black Widow?
Yeah.
It was 158 global theatrical, plus 60 more on Premier Access.
Okay. So does this make or not make the case for Premier Access at this point? And I think that's
not an easy answer.
It's not. And that's what I think he has a good point. I think that's a story I have not seen too many people ask, because it's not, like you said, it's not an easy yes or no, because to say that, oh, well, it basically did kind of the same. Yes and no. I think, and it's to be thing. We don't know what Disney's. I mean, we've obviously heard from Simu Liu himself how many congratulations. The directors, they're all very happy about it. Internally, the business side of this, what were they hoping to do? Does this meet expectations? Was the quote unquote experiment successful?
I saw one report that implied they were really hoping for 60 million, but that's unverified. That wasn't an official source, so take that for what it's worth. To me, and remember, selfishly, I would like Premier Access to be a thing, because I will buy, and then I could go see the movie in the theaters a couple times and then watch it at home as much as I want immediately. Yes, please, I selfishly. But it's not a slam dunk decision, because it does sound like it's coming out that the downstream revenue sources are taking a hit from Premier Access, as in your video on demand, your Blu-ray, things like that. Those are apparently taking a hit. I don't know how much of one, and I don't know what the percentage is on those. Well, for iTunes purchases, it's going to be 85, but like Blu-ray sales, how much of that does like Target or Best Buy keep versus how much goes to, I just don't know the answer.
If I were to say, just to guess, because I did buy, I'll do physical for some certain things, and I've already got my Black Widow already pre-ordered from Best Buy at that point. That one, a steelbook, I really wasn't interested in that one. That one, I like the movie. I only own 2 steelbooks for Marvel. Endgame, because it's one of my top thing, and then Winter Soldier.
Yep.
Take it back. Black Panther. My top 3 movies. I own Steelbooks for. So
I would have guessed Winter Soldier was the other one there.
Yep.
So,
if I were to guess like a percentage, Disney probably 60-ish.
Yeah, I don't know enough about retail markup to know the answer to that. Here's the thing. It's just not a slam dunk. Premier Access, they keep 85 to 95% of that money. You know, you go to the movie theaters, they keep around, I'm just going to say it's around half. They keep around half. All in the Game saw a report that said Disney gets 80% of the Premier Access money. It's going to depend on where it was purchased. If it's iTunes, it's going to be 85. If it's Amazon, I think it's 85. Google probably is too, but there's other like Vudu and other places like I don't know, but like anywhere that offer Vudu wouldn't offer this, but that offers a Premier Access in-app purchase like you can on iTunes, like you can on Google Play. Those are probably going to actually be 85.
What do you think the drop is for the second weekend?
Man, I was talking about that with some friends at work, and it normally like drops in the 40 to 50% range would be considered great. Black Widow's drop was 67, 68%, something like that. Fast 9, which was theatrical only, had basically the same drop or within a point of what Black Widow did. If Shang-Chi has a 67% drop, I think that's horrible. Like, I think that's, honestly, I will say that's a disaster for going forward. Because there's nothing coming out. Like, it's got no blockbuster wise, it has no competition until
it owns September.
Right. And basically. So I would love to see something in the 50 to 55% range. Anything in the 50s, I think is great. But the better it is, we're going to see Spider-Man and stuff. Now, I'm still hoping Eternals does Premier Access because I feel like Shang-Chi maybe did leave some money on the table. Because, well, yeah, sure, if let's say Premier Access was available and Clay went and saw the movie, so I'm just going to use him. Maybe he decides he's not going to go theatrically and he's just going to buy it on Premier Access. Sure, but they're getting more money out of him that way. They got one ticket there. They're getting more money out of him if he does that. So I still think there is something to be said for Premier Access, at least in the short term. And we know that's what all the investors like because they're all about the subscribers and that's what they care about way more than the long-term stuff. I just don't know. Like, I want them to do it for Eternals. I don't know if it's the right decision business-wise or not.
I don't know. I know I said in our post-credit scene for Shang-Chi, I was the one person out of the crew that said Eternals will release on time. It will not go Premier Access. I think, and I know we've talked about before, you can't stop the torrenting. It just is going to happen. But I think they got raked over the coals for Black Widow all over the place. And I think that plays, even though, yes, Disney will take the percentage at that point, I don't know if they want to weather another firestorm. And especially the amount of actors and actresses they have to basically find new deals. Not saying they can't, but they're going to have to renegotiate a whole lot more deals on the table.
And some of those are big names. I mean, they don't want to. Disney does not need another headline that says Angelina Jolie is joining Scarlett Johansson. They don't need that headline, right? They don't need that at all.
And I think that right now, Premier Access, I'll be very surprised if we see another Premier Access unless something I mean, I'm not saying Delta has been catastrophic. I'm not trying to lessen it at that point, but something catastrophic is going to have to make them go back to Premier Access. I do not see Premier Access coming back this year. Selfishly, I'm like you. Selfishly, like you, I want it.
Sure,
I do want it, but
I think it's very possible that Black Widow is the first and last Premier Access Marvel movie. I think Disney is going to do it for others. It seems to have been successful for Jungle Cruise. Whatever issues there were with Emma Stone and Cruella doing it, well, those were obviously worked out because she already got more money and they signed a deal for Cruella too.
Yeah. But you brought up a point. That's a very singular kind of focus of a cast at that point. So I will remit. Yes, I'll agree with you. Maybe for the last Marvel movie, we'll see what's left on the table for Premier Access for the other films. But
it's worth noting nothing has been advertised as it. Jungle Cruise was the final one to be advertised as Premier Access. So as of right now, publicly, for the rest of 2021, there's no more plans. I do think Premier Access as a concept will stick around going forward. I just don't necessarily see it with Marvel.
On the game brings up an interesting note. None of the Eternals actors are credited as producers, which works in Disney's favor. Interesting.
Yeah, and some of that, I mean, honestly, they need to just do what HBO and Warner Brothers did and rework the deals, reoffer the deals, pay up front, and be done with it. That's what, if they want to go Premier Access, that's what they need to do. Now, it's hard to judge, though, because like Scarlett Johansson allegedly was asking for $100 million. I'm like, really? Come on. That's no. Black Widow wasn't going to ever make enough for that.
And I like what Travis Hines has said in our GUA chats, like, do you think Disney leaked this, like, to put her back? Yes, it's PR 101. You're going to hit back. This is a mudslinging match on both sides, and they're both going to come out looking bad at that point. I think in the end, Scarlett Johansson's going to win out ahead in the sense of she stood up for what we all said. Yeah, you should have gotten something, and shame on you, Disney, for trying to do a dirt fight at this point. You didn't have to. You dragged everyone through the press, both sides at that point. Everyone's going to come off with a black eye on this one. Except, like I said, in the end, Scarlett's going to come out ahead just because she stood on her principles, and rightfully so.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's a whole other topic there, because technically, when you look at it, apparently Disney actually followed the letter of the contract. It's just a question of, did they follow the spirit of the contract?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I feel like there's a moral obligation, but they're a business, and that's a different kind of thing.
And we can go on the idea of Disney being a moral company another time at that point, because we can definitely throw other stones at Disney on that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They are not the happiest place on earth when it comes to many things.
No. So. I think ultimately, here's what I would do if I'm Disney. You know, I obviously don't have the full picture. I don't have the full numbers. I only have what's publicly available. But with that caveat, ultimately, if I feel like come November that, and they have to really decide in a couple weeks, but if I feel like COVID cases in general are going to be comparable to what they are now, I keep Eternals theatrical only and I let it sit.
Yep.
If I feel that way, with part of the calculus there is I want Spider-Man to come out in December, because remember, Sony or Disney now gets a quarter, or it's either 25% or 27%, something in that ballpark, around 20-25% of that box office. Also, that's going to probably be a big one, so they want that to come out too. I think that's what I would do if I feel like COVID cases are going to get worse. Maybe I broach the subject with the stars and the director, Chloe Zhao, Angelina Jolie, etc. Maybe I broach the subject of Premier Access, but I probably after the black eyes, as you put it, that they took from this, because it's now come out that the Russo brothers were in talks and they're kind of backing off just a little bit. Kevin Feige is not happy about the whole Premier Access thing. He didn't want it for these movies.
And how they've handled the ScarJo situation.
Yeah, he hates how Scarlett Johansson stuff was handled. And we know he's making them for the big screen. And he hasn't said anything like elitist or snobbish or anything like that. But it's not what he wanted to have happen. And they just totally ignored him when it came to that. Not the guy you should be making mad. I feel like the safest bet for Disney would be stick with Eternals, stick with it theatrically only for now. So again, it's not what I selfishly want, but I think it's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be, but we've heard rumors the second weekend is going to be a telltale sign. Probably by next 2 or 3 weeks, we should hear an official word from Disney about what they're going to do with Eternals, because marketing is going to start ramping up. They're going to spend that time. They will let Venom have its moment, but that moment will quickly pass. Guaranteed.
I feel like if Eternals can catch and pass Black Widow's domestic number, which is currently at 189 million, that would be huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely huge. So we'll see where that drop off is at.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get the story, since we talked about it. We're hinting at it. Venom. Yep. Venom 2. Very surprisingly, as soon as those numbers for Labor Day came out, Venom 2 has moved from October 15th, after backing off a couple of weeks, has moved up to October 1st to, as they say, to capitalize on the hot Marvel property of Shang-Chi at that point. I'm just going to say, Venom, you are not Shang-Chi. I'm not knocking Venom. Venom was an okay film. It was good for what it was. I've already got my tickets, 4:00 on October 1st.
And you're going to be out before I even sit down in my theater.
However, because of that, I will have to disappoint our listeners right now. I will not be there for the review because I will be on October 1st when you all do the review. I will be in Walt Disney World for our vacation with my family. So
Yeah.
I will not cast from Walt Disney World. My wife will be, Erin will be very upset with me. And I'm just, that one I am okay missing. I'm disappointed I'm missing it. I'm mad at Sony. I'm missing it for that. I promise you, I will give you my thoughts on the following week at that point. But it's, as what was it? NFJ Films said in the chat, Sony pulling a Sony. I get it. They want to do that at that point. They needed to get away from Halloween Kills, but now Halloween Kills came out today, and they're still going to hold their date. But it's going to be, they made a deal with Peacock, and it's going to premiere day and date with Peacock at that point. But it was a bad month for that movie to come out because it is stacked. The next week is James Bond. That is going to hold to that date.
That right there is the killer.
Yeah, it's a killer, and I understand the original date, Halloween Kills, would have totally split the audience. So Venom will have an okay weekend. It will be gutted the following weekend, and we will not hear much from it throughout the rest of the month. And it's unfortunate because, like all these movies, but I don't know what else they could do outside of punting it yet again to next year like they did Morbius.
I think they should have kept their October 15th date. I will say, for me personally, that's a super busy week. So I'm like, great, I have one less thing that week, and I can move it forward to a lighter week for me. It does suck you're going to be gone. Real quick, Fanboy Clay, I did cast from Vegas. That's right. But it's a little different because I was not there with my kids, and I just had my wife go play slot machines while I did it.
And yes, my wife Erin is very understanding at that point.
You know what?
I just no.
In a couple weeks later, I will be in Florida with my family, and I will not be podcasting. I will not be on the show that week. Unfortunately, we are not going to be there at the same time. Mm-hmm. But you get a pass for that, and I'm thankful that you don't have to miss the MCU ones. But to me, I feel like coming out and then having No Time to Die, right? That's whatever the James Bond movie is. Yep. I'm not a big James Bond guy, as you can tell. Bond is a huge franchise. Is it Marvel big? Well, no, probably not. But it's probably Sony Marvel big.
But it's even bigger. This is Daniel Craig's last time as Bond. I mean, you go to Apple TV right now, you can rent for free a 45-minute retrospective on his career. MGM has already lost a ton of money on lost advertising. This date is going to hold. They are making this big. It's already going to premiere, like it always does with Bond, a week prior in the UK. I mean, again, Sony is not in a good position where they had any other choice.
I feel like coming after Bond would have been better. But regardless, my worry here, like, as confident as I'm feeling about Spiderman going forward because of Shang-Chi, I'm less confident because I feel like if Venom bombs, why? What is the reason they give? If they are able to say, if Sony is able to say, well, Venom bombed because of James Bond. Well, okay, Spider-Man doesn't have that problem. There's a different one we'll address in a minute. But if Venom bombed because of the pandemic, then that's a different story altogether. So I'm not... I like the move personally. I don't think it's the best move for the movie itself. My coworker, who is a massive Venom fan, still says he's so hurt over all the delays that he hasn't bought tickets because he doesn't believe it's going to come out that day.
It's coming out. They wouldn't put pre-sale tickets out. That I mean,
I'm like, you get your money back if they do have to bump the movie. You'll get your money back.
As I explained to Erin, I said, even though I'm not in the review, next week, the following week's Bond, I am not missing opening weekend for Bond. Period. I've seen every Bond movie in that I've been alive for in the theaters on release day.
I thought the No Time to Die trailer looked pretty good, so I went and I watched all the Daniel Craig Bond movies. I hadn't seen any of them, and it was like within a few weeks, the movie got punted a year because of COVID. I was all ready to go.
That. I remember you said we're gonna start a rewatch. I think either this weekend or next at that point. But besides the point, like All in the Game, I know you've been waiting to bring this up, this comparison in the sense of what's going on. All in the Games is not 100% comparable, but No Way Home and Matrix Resurrections opening so close together can't be good, especially with the latter being available on HBO Max as well. That is true. It is interesting. I think I've seen the trailer. Have you seen the trailer yet?
One time, yes.
Yep. And it's I'm gonna go see it. whether it's, I think that's a movie depending on, I can't remember what day it releases at that point.
December 22nd.
December 22nd. All right. I'm probably traveling at that point. So if anything, I may be upsetting Christopher Nolan and all that stuff. I may be watching it on my computer at that point because where I'm traveling to does not necessarily have theaters that are going to show the big movies that are at least accessible for a 10-20 minute drive. So let that be how it is. But it's also, HBO has not delayed anything since, Warner Bros. Has not delayed anything since they've gone the Premier Access route of their HBO Max. So they're not moving that date.
I tweeted, I wonder if one of them is going to move because Spider-Man the 17th, and less than a week later I think it's a Wednesday, the 22nd, is The Matrix. And Matrix is a big property. Now let's be clear. It's not Spider-Man from Marvel Studios big. No disrespect meant, but it's not that big. But it is a big deal. It's a big property. It's a thing so many people are interested, and there's a lot of crossover audience. The vast majority of the people who go see Spider-Man probably are interested in The Matrix as well. I was talking with my friend Brian, and he made a great point about the streaming. He's like, they're not going to move. If anything moves, it'll be Spider-Man, but it won't be out of like fear of Sony or something, or not Sony, I'm sorry, Warner Brothers. It won't be that. It'll be purely pandemic related if Spider-Man moves. Matrix isn't going to move he said the same thing you did because of the HBO Max option. And call it what it is. Outside of Godzilla versus Kong, pretty much every Warner Brothers release has not had that great a box office run partially because, I shouldn't say entirely.
Mortal Kombat, maybe?
I'd have to look.
No, you're right, because Mortal Kombat had better streaming. I think that's what they keep on promoting. Mortal
Kombat's their top streaming.
Yeah, top streaming. That's what I was thinking about at that point. But so I guess The Matrix would be the last one for HBO Max of their day and date at that point.
Mortal Kombat worldwide made $83 million. Okay. So I'm sticking with what I said. Warner Brother movies, just outside of Godzilla versus Kong, are not exactly lighting up the box office this year. They're probably not expecting this to either. If you look at the money that the last couple Matrix movies did, second one did, I think it was 700 million something. The third one was like a little over half of that, like 400 something. Like there was a big downswing saying, people weren't happy with the second one because they didn't bother to go see the third one. I think a lot of people are going to want to see this one though. Keanu Reeves is he's back, right? Like he was kind of away for a while, and he's back in a way that he wasn't between Bill and Ted, and of course the awesome John Wick. He is definitely having a moment. Remember when Matrix and John Wick were the same day? That would have been pretty cool.
You know what? Warner Brothers did learn a lesson from Justice League. We're going to allow Mr. Keanu Reeves to keep his beard and keep everything like that point and not CGI the crap out of that thing, because that worked out so well in Justice League with Henry Cavill.
I don't know what you're talking about at all there. But to me, if either of them had to move because of the box office, like because one is scared of the other, Matrix would have to get out of Spider-Man's way.
But they're not.
But they're not going to with the streaming option. You're absolutely right. My friend Brian is absolutely right. They're not going to. But honestly, because of that, they won't be in that big a way anyway. Like they won't clash that much because maybe Warner Brothers isn't looking for that much out of it.
It's just I think they're looking for as much as the nostalgia, because that trailer reeks nothing but nostalgia for the first movie at that point. And that's fine. That's what that first trailer needs to do. You need to capitalize on people who remember that first movie, and all the new people who just seen the first movie and really don't acknowledge the other two sequels at that point. Guess what, guys? It did happen. They do exist. The director of this one directed the other three at that point. So it did happen. But same audiences, it's still going to do well. The good thing is, again, Matrix will beat Spider-Man for that weekend. It may or may not do that.
I don't know if it will.
Well, I take that back just because, again, it's Spider-Man, it's Christmas, it's more family friendly at that point.
The big question will be IMAX screens.
IMAX screens.
Where are the IMAX screens that weekend? Are they with Matrix or are they with Spider-Man?
I will recant. I still think Spider-Man wins the next weekend against Matrix.
I think fact or fiction, Spider-Man is going to win its second weekend against the Matrix.
Write that down, and I know it's an additional fact or fiction. We're going to put that out there.
Yeah, write that down. It's absolutely. I I think the IMAX screens will be very telling. Like, where are the screenings for that? I will tell you personally, I would like to see this Matrix movie. I
Yeah.
don't have a massive love for the franchise, but I enjoyed all three of them well enough, and so I would like to see it. But that week, let's just be honest with ourselves here. If I find time to be at the movies that week, it's probably not to see the Matrix. It'll be to see Spider-Man for the third or fourth time or whatever it is. And
we're just gonna be honest. It's gonna be for the fourth or fifth time.
It's and actually the day Matrix comes out is my dad's birthday. I might be like, hey, you want to go see Spider-Man for your birthday? See what I did there? But part of that Matrix is gonna be on HBO. I can watch it at home. And so
like I said, I know my travel plans are getting close that we're figuring them out, but I know I'm probably just gonna be watching it on my iPad then at that point. So.
I value choice, and I want that choice. I want to watch Matrix. I will just probably choose for HBO Max.
So last one before we take our commercial break for the news. NFJ Films says WB delayed more movies this year, but only by a few weeks. But that was because we would be getting a premium movies, for example, Godzilla vs. Kong, Zack Snyder's Justice League, MK. The same month. So yep, you're right. I do remember that there was some alternating. So thank you for that call out, NFJ Films. You are right. I do remember that now. But yeah, so we're just gonna have to pay attention and see exactly what happens. But hey, like you said, selfishly, we want choice. So, but yeah, we're not done with news. I almost forgot the last news item, but we're going to take our last commercial break, ad break, before we get into news and our rest of our feedback. So again, listeners, these ads keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a little bit loud. So I'll give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. Well, we try to set a rundown at that point, but it seems to be coming on most weeks. I'll be adding something last minute to the rundown. And this were pretty fun. We don't have too much to say about it, but Sony had a showcase for PlayStation, and they came out swinging. They really came out swinging for what the future holds for PlayStation. And we got our first teaser trailer for a favorite game from both of us. Spider-Man 2 has now have an official teaser. And so I'm going to play that and volume down. It'll be, there's not much at that point. Oop, I turn the volume down. It's Insomniac's continuing on with it. And we see from this trailer that both Spider-Man and Miles Spider-Man are going to be in it. So that's
Which
good.
means they're probably both going to be playable. And yes. I would still, I'm sure it's not happening, I would love to see a multiplayer one where I could team up with somebody and I could be one of them and the other person could be the other Spider-Man. That would be so much fun.
The interesting thing is the narrator of this, even though you can't hear it, I haven't seen any confirmation yet, but the accent, what he is saying at the point of looking for a challenger that can push him, challenge him, and eventually beat him. I think this is Craven.
Jim Scroggs on Twitter messaged me and said the same thing. And I can't argue against it, and I can't think of anyone better who fits it. So,
but the person in the background that says at this moment that thing, yes, we can. We were waiting for it. You can't do a Spider-Man game without it eventually happening. And wait for it. Here it comes. Oh, there are the eyes. There's the teeth. We have Venom in Spider-Man 2. And as video will later see, the only date we have is 2023. So we don't know when in 2023. We don't know how it's going to be in 2023. But it later was confirmed not only the voice actor for it, but also that Venom will be the villain of Spider-Man 2.
I love it. I'm assuming it's Harry Osborn in the symbiote based on how the last one ended. I love it. I know they said Tony Todd, right, is doing the voice of Venom. He was the voice of Zoom on The Flash season 2. Fitz, great voice actor there. I freaking love this game. I love Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man Miles Morales. Yeah, does it suck we have to wait till 2023? Sure, but I can. For me, I feel like it's almost a little easier because I'm not that big a gamer, so I can be patient. And all I know is right now, everyone's like, I can't get a PS5. I can't get a PS5. You can't find them anywhere. I'm like, great. I don't care until 2023. That's when it matters.
But the surprise in our final news item was this one we didn't see coming. And, You can see it in the thing, but if you haven't been paying attention, we're just going to let this out in the sense of Insomniac is doing another Marvel game.
Yes, that right there has me. I'm like, I'll buy it. They were so good.
Exactly. So they're following up. So all we see, it's a bar that has been severely trashed at that point. In the background, we see a little like license plate that says HLK 181. We'll let you know. We see a guy at the bar drinking, some guy behind him getting ready to stab him. And the guy at the bar closes his fist and out pops up the claws. Ladies and gentlemen, Insomniac Games is producing and creating a Wolverine game. Oh my gosh.
I'm in.
There is no date. That is all we're getting right now. And if Spider-Man is 2023 and this is that very little is all we're getting, yeah, this is definitely if I doubt it's coming out the same year. If it's produced by the same studio, I know different studios have different sects of their own groups working on these. This is probably a 2024 game at the earliest.
Well, there's some crossover with who's working. Like PlayStation put out a blog post about it, and I don't remember the name, but like the game director from Spider-Man Miles Morales is doing Wolverine. So they're definitely crossing the streams there a bit, if you will. I will tell you, personally, I want Wolverine to come out second. It probably is going to, because I'm holding off on my PlayStation purchase just to find out if they do a Spider-Man edition of the PS5. One way or the other, once Spider-Man comes out and I know what that situation is, I will get a PS5, and then I will be happy to get Wolverine. But if Wolverine were to come out tomorrow, then I'd have a choice. Do I get just the regular PS5 or do I wait to play Wolverine? And regardless, I'm buying the PlayStation 5 for Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
At that point, it's, it's like buying a $500 game effectively. Wolverine's going to feel dirt cheap by comparison to me. So yeah, I'm definitely getting it.
Yeah. It's been a property that has been long waited for to put Wolverine on a solo game. It's been decades since.
Well, what was the last one? Wolverine Origins?
Yeah.
There was a Wolverine game for the original Nintendo that I used to play a lot.
I remember the Super NES at an Antium at that point. That was good. And FJ Film says, will Spider-Man be like Gotham Knights where you can play any character you want for the entire game, or will it go back and forth where the story goes sometimes for Peter and sometimes goes for Miles? I think it's going to start off like that. I think that you may have times where they may be on the same screen together, but I think initially it's going to be a back and forth.
In Spider-Man Miles Morales, when they were on the same screen together, it was cutscenes. It was the cinematics. My best guess would be that, basing off the previous Spider-Man game, that for the most part you played as Spider-Man. Every now and then they forced you to play as someone else, either Mary Jane or Miles, in one of those stealth missions, right? And I feel like they're going to do that with this. I feel like primarily you'll be playing as Peter. For a few missions, you'll also get to play as Miles. And maybe sometimes you'll get a pick. But I think for the most part, the game will dictate it to us. Again, I would like to see them both, but just seeing them both on screen together is so awesome. And I'm excited for it. Like that, for me, that was enough of a tease, really, for both games. I'm totally in. Fanboy Clay, this trailer had them doing combo takedowns. You're absolutely right. That could easily be the cinematic, though, too, because like this wasn't the actual gameplay part. Yeah. But again, I hope you're right. I would love to have them both on screen together.
Oh yeah, I think it will. I just don't think it's going to start off like that. I think if they are there, you're not getting to switch them. You're choosing one to start off.
Even if they had like a beat the game unlock, one of the additional players mode where it's just like not you going around the city, but you're in one of their like dungeons or whatever where you just fight a bunch of thugs and you just see, like, even if they just did that as a 2-player thing, would be so much fun.
And I also, when I beat the game, I want to play as Venom under a different New Game Plus.
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes, please. That. I mean, you're touching in on my Factor of Fictions there, but well, that's all right.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. So did we hit all the stuff in the chat at that point? All right. Yep. I think we got most of that. We're kind of going back and forth. All right. So we got listener questions. We got a lot of them this week, actually.
You can switch back over to that. All right. First up from Travis L. Zombies attack. You get 3 Marvel villains as your squad to help survive. Who are they? See, this is tough because I'm like, are they going to just turn on me eventually?
I've also read the comics, and so some of my big hitters, I know they don't survive the zombies.
I mean, they took down Silver Surfer.
They took down Galactus. Screw Silver Surfer. They took down Galactus.
You're absolutely right. But we gotta
Yep, we gotta
pick
answer the
three,
question.
Right? Magneto. I'm going Magneto for number 1.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of empty metal, like metal everywhere that can be used. I'm going Magneto for number 1.
My number 1 will be. Yeah, see, this is what I get. That's what I get in trouble for not preparing ahead of time. I'm gonna go with. I'll go with Polaris. No, never mind. That's not here. Out here, a villain. Jeez, it's been a late day already. Geez, I'm gonna go with Ulysses Claw.
Interesting. Interesting.
His tech background. No, yeah, his tech background will help. So
that's interesting. My second one, I was gonna go Doctor Doom. I mean, you got the tech background and you have a sorcerer.
I will go with Mephisto.
Of course. I didn't even think of Mephisto.
Hashtag Mephisto confirmed.
Oh my gosh. You would. All right. My final one is Apocalypse.
All right. I will go with man. Trying to think at that point. I'll go with Onslaught.
I like that. I like the Onslaught call. You kind of snuck a little Magneto in there with the Onslaught call, right?
I did at that point.
All right, so there you have it.
They're all going to still die. Don't mind. Oh,
yeah, they're all going
to be ripped apart.
They're going down for sure.
Yep. All right, the next question from Fanboy Clay. Marvel Zombies is a very popular and widely known comic series. What actual what-if stories would you want to see make their way into the MCU multiverse next season? From the MCU...
Not from the MCU, into the MCU.
Oh, into the MCU? Okay. Into the MCU?
Yeah, as I'm reading this, he means like, what if comic books would you like to see adapted?
Okay. So from the comic books adapted, geez.
That's how I'm reading it. So Clay, you better speak up if I'm wrong.
I want to see that Civil War. I want to see what if Civil War. I know that was my pick for when we had a week with Travis and I between comic book clubs. At that point, we decided to do what if, and I would like to see what if Civil War had gone the other way.
All right. I like it. I thought I had one that came to mind, and that was it really doesn't have a what if question. It's it's what if starring so and so issue 105. Do you know what it is before I say it?
Nope.
It's the introduction of Mayday Parker, Spider-Girl. Because Spider-Girl, she had a solo title that went on for over 100 issues, and she still popped up recently in the Spider-Verse events. She first appeared in an issue of What If 105. And so I think that would be awesome to see.
That really would be awesome. I like that. So DC Outlaw saying, what do you think will be the plot of the inevitable Shang-Chi sequel? And do you think it'll have any other pre-existing MCU characters that like this one had with Wong and Abomination? I'll answer the last part first. I think it is. I think it's one of those things that we kind of expect maybe an appearance of someone reference point to. Who that be? Could be Wong again, could be anything. I'm not sure. I think it's almost in the sense of we're going to have to see him address his sister taking over the 10 rings.
Yeah, I think this is Jialing taking over the 10 rings. He thinks that she's dismantling the organization. She's clearly just repurposing it.
From a certain point of view.
Certain point of view. And on top of that, there is that look between them where they kind of acknowledge that, yeah, his dad is dead. And I know a lot of people question, does she think that Shang-Chi killed him? I don't necessarily have that question, but I get where it comes from. I could see that coming up, but I think the bigger thing is going to be that maybe, as far as another MCU character goes, I actually think Wong is a really good pick, because part of me does wonder, are they going to try and go to one of the other mystical cities, the other dimensional cities? And is this beacon that the rings are putting out there, is it going to affect something from one of those?
Yeah. Anthony at Walkator93 says, if you could have Fantastic Four version member join the Multiverse of Madness or make a cameo, which FF is it? 2005 member or someone from the Fan Four-tastic at that point?
There's only one right answer. There's only one right answer. Come on,
we'll go for the one right answer.
It's Chris Evans as the Human Torch. Tell me that's not the right answer.
It is the right answer, but I would also selfishly want to see Michael B. Jordan too.
That would be your runner-up. That would be the runner-up option. That's right. Bring them honestly,
both.
Honestly, the rest of the Fan Force cast, I don't need it. I don't need to see it.
I like Kate Mara. I'm doing a rewatch of House of Cards right now, but you know.
Yeah, well, she was a lot better in that movie or in that show, but it's a better show than that is a movie. Mm-hmm. The rest of the cast in the original FF movies, sure. I honestly have nothing against them. Even Jessica Alba, it wouldn't be my first choice, but whatever, it's fine. But Chris Evans as the Human Torch, something alluding to that. Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch. Both of those, I think, would be funny and awesome at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, why don't you take this last question from your good buddy Brock?
Yeah, Brock says, is Wong going to be the next big player in the MCU? I tell you, Brock, right now, to me, he feels like Fury and Coulson kind of in phase one. Like, we've seen him pop up in What If. He popped up in Shang-Chi unexpectedly. That credit scene, who expected that? Nobody. And we know he's in Spider-Man No Way Home. And of course, he's in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It kind of feels that way, like he's connecting some dots and stuff. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, is Val recruiting, or is Sam going to recruit?" No, it was Wong who's recruiting right now. What's going on there with the Abomination? I would not rule out an appearance by Wong in the She-Hulk show at this point.
The director on Phase Zero were basically saying, pay attention. These are not just throwaway characters we decided to have a cameo with. They're coming back.
So, I feel like right now Wong is kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's having a moment. So I say bring it on. I enjoy his character. So, all right. So I've got the Factor Fictions from 2 weeks ago pulled up. So while you get yours prepped to talk about from 2 weeks ago, these are mine. First one, we will see a Young Avengers project on Disney Plus or in theaters before Avengers 5. 88% says fact, 12% said fiction. Number 2, Factor Fiction, Deadpool will maintain all the memories of the Fox Marvel universe and will be referring back to it throughout his future in the MCU. 95% said fact, 95% fact, 5% said fiction. Number 3, Chris Hemsworth will appear in one more movie after Love and Thunder and one more Avengers movie before, quote unquote, retiring from portraying the character. 58% said fact, 42% said fiction. And then I had the bonus one. In Spider-Man No Way Home, we will see Tom Holland's Spider-Man temporarily exit the MCU and move over to the Sony's Spider-Man universe. We have a tie. 50-50. They can't decide. They don't want to choose. So, all right. Hit me with your facts or fictions.
All right. Number 1, there will be a Marvel Studios Legend episode related to Spider-Man for No Way Home.
Fact. It's been one that they've done every single time. I was wondering what they were going to do with Shang-Chi for an entirely new one, and they did one on the 10 Rings, So they're going to find some way, and might as well. The die is cast on this, so I'm curious to see what they're going to do for Eternals. So I say fact.
All right, I alluded to this earlier. Now,
what do you say?
Oh, you're right. Fact, absolutely. Especially with the 10 Rings one. I don't know if you watched it, but they showed footage like from the trailers of Shang-Chi at the end of going back through. To me, it's easy enough to go back through from Civil War through Endgame with plenty of Spider-Man footage that they'll do something for it. And it'll be nice to see something new with Spider-Man on Disney Plus. Even if it is just using old footage. All right. So number 2, I alluded to this earlier. Now I'm going to flat out say it. Venom will be a playable character in Spider-Man 2 for the PS5.
Yes. You have to beat the game first.
I think you're right. I'm saying fact on he'll be playable, and I would agree under those conditions. I think it'll be a bonus there.
I think that's one thing the fans, even though yes, it was really cool the number of suits you can do. I mean, we saw in the trailer, we've got the Iron Spider, legs coming out of Peter at one point. So even though you could probably play as the black costume as Spider-Man, there's something special about playing as Venom.
I feel like, I mean, the black costume, I feel like, is all but confirmed. You know, they showed us the white spider with the similar kind of designs as what the Miles spider and the Peter. It's going to happen.
And how about this? The extra you can get is also the different Venoms, Carnage, Anti-Venom. You can do different costumes with that.
You could do different symbiotes like Toxin and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be into that. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, I have 2 more Venom ones on my list. I'm just keeping with the theme here. You know what? I'm gonna go with the fun one. This one's more fun. Flash Thompson from the MCU will become Agent Venom.
I'm gonna say right now no, because there hasn't been. He's not the Flash of the comics in the sense of how much he was involved in there, and I need to see him. I might say fact depending on how he's used in No Way Home.
I wanted to get this question in before No Way Home came out. Yeah. I've had it on my list for like 2 months. Like I've been sitting on it.
It's a fiction for me right now.
I will agree it's a fiction. I just think it's fun because I really think there's a strong possibility Tom Holland is in the Sony Spider-Man universe at the end of this movie, and who knows what's going to happen if that occurs. So I just thought, you know what, Flash, Agent Venom, it's fun. We'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So I will post those Sunday afternoon. So be on the lookout for that, including our bonus one. Spider-Man No Way Home will win its second weekend against The Matrix when it comes out in December. No, it's not say if, when. I'm very positive. I'm willing that to happen.
That's right. When.
All right. So Comic Book Club. So before we get into the conclusion of our looking at the Age of X series that you all voted on, it is our pick. Brent and I get to choose this time of that. And Brent had a very good idea, so I'm going to let him tell us his idea, and when he finishes that, I'll go over what the synopsis is.
Yeah, this idea came to me from the No Way Home trailer, just to be clear. So, okay, we're reading Spider-Man. Let's go ahead and put that out there. And it's related to the Brand New Day stuff, but it is not that. It is One Moment in Time, which I believe we did mention when we talked about the trailer. And it's basically the story of the in-continuity reason for how Peter's secret identity got put back in the bottle. We know Doctor Strange helped. It's that story. I feel like this would be a good one to read. Of course, they always make changes, but I think it's a good one to read before seeing Spider-Man No Way Home. And it's only 4 issues, so it's not like it's a big commitment.
And so this allows Brent and I to talk about One More Day, but not read One More Day.
That's right. That's right.
This is our loophole because we both despise that story so much. I love JMS's run on Spider-Man. I own both the Omnis for it. I still will not read One More Day in the second volume of that.
Nope.
At all. Nope. Nope. But here's the brief synopsis of One Moment in Time. It is 4 issues from Amazing Spider-Man 638 to 641. You've wanted answers? Well, here they are. What really happened in the wedding of Spider-Man and Mary Jane? What does Mary Jane know about Spider-Man today? How did One More Day really affect Peter Parker, MJ, and the rest of the Marvel Universe? Joe Quesada, Paul Rivera, and Marcos Martin lay out all the cards, pull back the curtain, and fill in every blank. The arc will hold answers, revelations, and set up the course of Spider-Man's life for years to come. And for the most part, that's been true. So
we're I think we're gonna just tackle this 1 issue a week, right?
1 issue a week, so we'll do 4 weeks of that. And so yeah, the next time it'll be a listener's choice. So when we get to that point, we'll let you know. So all right, let us talk about the last 3 issues of Age of X. You know, we concluded it with the last issue, but these were kind of wrap-up issues. So we have Age of X Universe number 2, X-Men Legacy number 248, 249. These were known as Age of X Aftermath. So what did you think about these 3 issues as a whole itself?
You know, I wished we had read the Age of X Universe one first, but the way Unlimited had it wasn't like or Age of X Universe. I mean, not Unlimited. It feels like that one should have been before the actual like finale of the story.
Correct.
That said, this was, you know, it was a side story. It was just like, what are the Avengers doing in the Age of X universe? It was fine. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was kind of interesting to see Captain America, like his true self, still come through. He had started down a path that was definitely very different, and then he sort of broke through it and was broke free of that, and his true self came out. It was just fine. Like, I honestly, I feel like I would have enjoyed it more had the story not already been over for me.
Yeah, it was one of those things like, oh, well, we know what's happening. This isn't real. So, but it was a cool sub story. It was a cool fight at the end with them basically rebelling against, Banner, and seeing Banner go down the way he did at that point was very satisfying at that point. But so it was a cool part. But the aftermath, I like these two issues because it wasn't like, oh, this didn't happen, we can get over it. No, especially 248 really dealt with the PTSD all these characters who were involved in Age of X are dealing with. Like, even though it was 7 days, I think they said, it felt like a lifetime of these memories. And it comes to the point that Emma and the Cuckoos are gonna offer out who wants their memories wiped of this, or who wants like part of their memories wiped of this. And it's very interesting. I think that was the most fascinating part of this book, is seeing who wanted a complete wipe, who wanted to hold on, who was still struggling with that decision.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed those aspects of it. And like the Frenzy character was struggling because she was with Cyclops when they were in Age of X. She's not with Cyclops now in the quote unquote real world. That Emma is his partner. And it was really fascinating to see like who would decide to take out like how much and stuff, and like their reasons for why. Sam Cannonball, he didn't want to remember anything, and he's like, and you're going to take my sister's memories too, right? And they're just like, only if she wants it. We're not forcing this on anybody. Thought that was interesting. But obviously the one that was the most compelling to me had to be Rogue, whom did not want her memories taken because she wanted to honor all those deaths and the people that she absorbed as legacy, or at least that she had the memories of.
Yeah, and I want to say this thing about Mike Carey's run on X-Men. He is probably, this was a time of X-Men that, wasn't necessarily some of the most celebrated time, and not many people could stay on X-Men for a long period of time, but Mike Carey stayed on for a very long time. And I equate him to, he was the one person during this interesting time of X-Men where he brought some very interesting character focuses of characters that didn't necessarily get a focus. And he does a masterclass of his two he really focused on, Rogue and Magneto. And these two issues, particularly the 249, really shows he has a deep affection for both these characters and really looking into their psyche. So if you really want an interesting, not your Claremont like, but like a person who really wants to look at the deepness of some of these side characters, Mike Carey's run is outstanding.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the conversations that Magneto and Rogue had as they were basically talking and about what they went through and going forward, and of all things, like, and I'd kind of forgotten that this was a thing, but like they actually were a couple for a little while, and I'd kind of forgotten about that. And then here we are at the end of this issue where she's like, well, I'm not promising you anything long term, but I am promising tonight. And it goes off with Magneto and Rogue together.
Yeah, and I like how Magneto shares, and we all know, Eric's story in the sense of he's a survivor of the Holocaust, his own struggles with that, and that's how he kind of talks through his own struggles of what he's gone through with Age of X. So, all in all, Age of X is an okay story. It's an interesting story, but it's definitely one that it is no Age of Apocalypse by any stretch of the imagination. And it was an interesting one because when I had read this for the first time many years ago, I think when it did come out in first run, it didn't land as well for me that first time. So when we got a chance to revisit it now, I think of it a little bit better. So is it worth looking to? Sure. It is an okay one. What it's leading to in X-Men Siege is far, it definitely has more bigger ramifications than this. This is kind of forgotten and really is not referenced anymore after it. So, but yeah, that's my thought. It was an okay run.
Overall, I would say, well, it's not going to top my list of favorite X-Men stories by any means. I'm glad to have read it. I'm glad to, I know I had read at least part of it before. I'm glad to have read the whole thing now and see what the whole thing, what it was about.
Yep. All right. So, like we said, we are going to start our exploration of one moment in time. So, next week will be Amazing Spider Man issue 638. Obviously, Marvel Unlimited. We still haven't talked about it, Brent. That must mean we might be talking about it a little bit later on after we say goodbye.
Absolutely.
Yep. So again, I did check out recently on Comixology. It is not on unlimited. However, it is very affordable for the purchase of the single issues. Again, 4 issues. Again, it is on Marvel Unlimited. So check that out. We'll talk about that next week. And so, all right, volume 67 in the bag. So, Brent, why don't you tell people how they can follow you?
Sure, Brent Tech Prime on Twitter. Next episode of Fans Without Borders is recording this weekend, and it will be our review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So you already know what I think about it, and we'll find out what Ray thinks about it too.
Yes, definitely. I think he gave a preview on his solo class flight cast, but I look to see how you all look at your both favorite moments and how they compare. So
yep.
That'll be good. So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow the show at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. And again, we want to thank our sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Again, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every order. We want to thank them for being our official sponsor. And then you can also follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to email, tweet if you want to provide feedback, ask Factor Fictions. Continue to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, whichever platform of choice may be. Thank you all for joining us in the live chat. We really appreciate the live banter. Thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. Well, Brent, you and I have been talking for so long of Marvel Unlimited needs to do this. I even talked about a bug that when I tweeted at them, you've tweeted at them saying it's coming in an update. You and I probably received the same emails. There was going to be a major update from Marvel Unlimited. Lo and behold, the update has happened today, and it's a big one.
It's awesome. It's not perfect. I still have some things that I would some bugs have come across and some criticisms, if you will. But my lord, when DC Universe Infinite changed to that, Marvel Unlimited said, "Okay, well, we need to do something. We're going to go from 6 months behind to 3 months behind." That was great. And I'm like, "Okay, great. Now can you please just make it so we can follow a series? You know, comic books the brick and mortar stores, right? Stores, there's the pull list, right? Every new issue of Amazing Spider-Man, put it in my box. That should have been so much easier to do. Should have been there years ago. It's here now, it looks like. It says you can follow things, says you can get notifications when new issues become available.
Oh my gosh, it's so, you and I had talked about that for so long, especially when I was starting. I'd fallen off of it because once I found out the run was going to end, I said I'm just going to hold off with the Immortal Hulk. You and I had talked about just when issues dropped, we'd have to check every week to see when a new one would drop, and it was dumb.
Ironically, the app's not loading for me right now on my iPad. I will continue to check out what's new this week for things that aren't on my pull list. But I'm like, I shouldn't have to remember to add Venom every week. It should just be there, and that is there for me now. And say I've grabbed I can't tell you what the subtitle of it was because it's not loading for me, but there's Immortal Iron Fist story right now. I don't know if it's a mini series or if it's ongoing or what. I'm like, sure, that sounds like fun. I just saw it there, so I added it. I could add the whole series in one shot now.
Oh my gosh, that before. That's something that DC Universe had since day one before it became DC Universe Infinite. Just adding this series to your library, so easy, so good. The idea of, like you said, I would just put single issues in there and say, okay, I'm reading this series, but I have to thumb through the series in order to get to the one at that point. And that was just dumb. But what was even dumber was you could only download 12 issues at a time.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yes, exactly. So guess what? They listened to us. Unlimited downloads of any issue you want. Download to your little heart's content. I haven't tried it out yet. I will probably be trying it out more when I go on my trip in a couple of weeks. That is finally, that was just like, why can't you do this like DC's doing it?
Now, unfortunately, you can't just download a whole group at once.
Correct.
From what I can tell, you still got to, and this is the same with removing from your library, you still got to basically do it one at a time. Like if you add a book or add, like, I have 4 issues of Immortal Hulk in my library right now. And if I wanted to remove those, I would have to do them individually. Whereas in the old app, you could select them and then you could basically choose and do multiple at once. But it's still so much improved.
It is. And I think that's something that they could easily bring back in because they had it in the original iteration of it. Their last update was bulk removal. So that seems to be a very quick update they could do.
And honestly, I will take it to not have it. And as far as downloading goes, I said you could maybe do 12 because I had this recurring bug, and I know you had it too, where every now and then an issue you downloaded would just be duplicated. And so suddenly, but that counted against your count. So suddenly you can only download 11. Or it said you had 13 if the one that duplicated was your 12th one.
But here's the thing. When you deleted what you thought was a duplicate, both of them would go.
Yep, both of them would go. So it'd be like, okay, I was only going to read 2 issues, but I'm going to read 3 so I can get to that duplicate and clear it out of there. Yep. And I would always download them because it was a better experience than just like the streaming was. It always seemed like the streaming version took a little while to load. I'm going to try out the streaming on here. It's a whole new app. We're going to see how it all goes. I'm going to give it a shot and try that out because if you don't have to download them, that's obviously even easier.
Yeah, I mean, I've really haven't downloaded when I'm on Wi-Fi, which is most of the areas I go to outside of driving when I'm going on long trips and I'm not the one driving at that point. So, and that'll be great. But the new thing that they put out there was this thing called Infinity Comics. So it's vertical scrolling from top creators. They are in continuity stories. They're exclusive to the app right now. Jonathan Hickman was teasing this, that he is directly involved also with this, and that's what he's still involved with Marvel. I read 2 issues on my phone. I have an iPhone 12 Pro Max at that point, read the 2 issues of Captain America that are out right now. It is very easy to read on it. It worked really well. I didn't mind the scrolling. Everything was very clear. You know, I have a bigger phone because I do a lot of stuff on there where I need that kind of space to work on. I like seeing the movies. I know you have a similar phone, but I don't know if you, yeah. So I enjoyed looking at it, and I think that this is something I can easily do on the run if I were like waiting in line for food at that point. Let me see what's next coming up on Infinity. I think I haven't tried it on the iPad yet, but I can quite easily get along with just reading these on my phone.
I looked at it on my iPad. It's basically the same thing. Vertical scrolling, one long picture.
Yeah.
And it's different. It feels a little weird, won't lie, but I liked it. Now, I will tell you, my wife loved the idea so much that she logged into the app, put the app on her phone, and she wants to read some of these vertical scrolling ones. She thought it was such a cool experience.
They've got some great ones. I mean, they got Captain America. They got a Shang-Chi out there. They've got Moon Knight. They've got X-Men. They've got even kind of a kid one. Like I couldn't see, like, what is that one?
I looked at it a little bit tonight with my son, and then he wanted to play or something, so we didn't get through it very far, but it looked like it was just a bunch of characters trying to get into a treehouse or something like that.
Yes, so this is something
very kid friendly, but not the other ones were a little more adult. The Captain America one was much more political in nature. I did read the Spiderman one. It's his origin.
Okay.
Do you ever read comics on your phone, like traditional comics on your phone?
I do it only occasionally if I'm really just saying I need to do something. I don't play games on my phone, so I'm either doing work on my phone or scrolling the internet, so I've done comics on it. It's not too terribly bad. I just don't make a habit of it. But this one, like I said, Infinity, I'll do that. I like doing that. And it's not long issues either. I read the Captain America, both of them, in 10 minutes, if that.
I actually think I'm not a big fan of the regular comics, even on the 12 Pro Max screen. Like I'd still, I would want it to be a little bigger, I think.
Yeah.
But these Infinity comics, I actually think from briefly looking at it on my iPad and my phone, I might prefer them on my phone. I think that might be a better experience. And so I'm going to check out a couple more of them.
And I think that's what they designed it for, particularly for the phone. They said it works anywhere, obviously, on an iPad, but you're right. I think I will have a more enjoyable experience on the phone. My question is, well, one, this is one thing that they have DC Universe Infinite beat on as a huge exclusive right now for the app. DC Universe doesn't have too many exclusive, if exclusive at all, outside of I think the Fortnite thing. But on those that they do have on there, come out in print. Do you foresee these ever coming out in print?
I mean, I'm not going to say never, but I don't really know how they would. It's like how
Kind
would
of
they
beats
print
the
them?
gimmick. It
I
beats
mean,
the gimmick.
yeah, it's supposed to be a vertical scrolling, and they used to have these infinite comics that was like if you did it like it would say it had like 300 pages or whatever,
Mhm.
but a page would be like one panel changing while the art like they were borderline stop motion. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever read those. I know there was one during the AVX time. There were a few others there. I
Mhm.
think they're in the app. I wasn't a big fan of them. Like the gimmick didn't work on me here, but if you printed these, like those would work printed. You just didn't get all the changes and movements.
Yeah.
These printed, I don't know how that would work. I don't think I would like that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they do the paneling on that one. So that requires a big extra effort. And you know what? It could just be the app seller in the sense of they say they're in continuity, but to the fact that they're going to remain app exclusive, it's just going to be one of those things like they're in continuity, but how
But it's
often
never
it's
referenced.
we reference it, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's kind of like Agents of Shield.
Yeah, kind
um,
of.
yeah. So, but what are the bugs you're encountering? I know we the
There's
ones
still
you written
there's
down
still
there are
been
about the
some
same.
number like the order of the books like in my library like one moment in time it was doing it to me like you would think like the first issue which was what was that 638 would be
638.
first, but no, it was like 640 was first. And then but it wasn't just like sorted reverse numerical or anything because it'd be like 638 640 639, like it'd be
Mhm.
something like that. I'd have to look back at what it was, but it was 640 first. And I'm like, just sort it by can you just go in order? Can we just
Yeah.
go in order? That was a big one. And then you can share links to comics, and I have not gotten that to work for me. I've shared a couple links. You sent me one. I click on it. It takes me to the App Store. I am on a beta on my phone. You said for you it took you directly into the app. I need to try it on my wife's phone
Yeah,
now that I
it's
think about it because
yeah,
she's
because
not on the beta. I am going to try it on
but you
hers.
said it didn't work for Brock either.
Well, I don't know if he clicked on it or not. I
Oh,
don't
okay,
I don't know if
gotcha.
he did
Okay.
it.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, it took me directly to the comic itself. So it's a good idea. I didn't realize you couldn't do it before, so that's an interesting new feature.
I honestly never tried. I don't
Okay.
know if it was there before or not. I never. It was just me poking. An app gets a massive redesign. You poke around it, you see what's there, and maybe it wasn't a new feature, but it's new to you because you just
Mhm.
discovered it.
Yeah, I think right now one of the things. Let me pull it up on my phone. I was not too keen on because I liked the older way of doing it. Was searching for the series. Um, I don't I don't like how because I remember on the side they had the alphabet on the side. They don't have it right now. So I've either got to search or I'm going to keep on scrolling infinitely, and I want them to add on the alphabet on the side.
I will say, and it was kind of like this before. Like if you type something in like the search bar, like type Spider-Man in,
Mhm.
you can then slide the headers and search Spider-Man from different
Yep.
categories.
Mhm.
And one of those is series. So you can get the series that way, but it's not the same. That said, I looked at the reading list or the reading guides, and the King in Black one, to me, it looks much more easy to follow, much better
Mhm.
organized. And so I like that. It was just a little clear, and it looks like it'll be a little clearer to actually follow as you want to read through those. And that's my next long-term thing. I think that's my next big one I'm going to read is probably not all the tie-ins, but parts of it. And that will make it easier for me to follow, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, the big seller, it's a big improvement. I'm a big believer in digital. Like I said, you see behind me, I buy physical of certain titles that I really have a connection to at that point. But there are so many on here I'll never buy just because there's only so much book space and only so much money to spend.
Mhm.
And for what you get for both Marvel Unlimited, DC Universe Infinite at that point, Comixology Unlimited, I dropped it when I got DC Universe, and this at this point, I don't have a need for it. I'll buy the sales for the Image stuff and the
Yeah.
independents, but um, the one where they beat so many people is they went from 6 months to now 3 months, day and date, 3 months after the issue releases. It is on Marvel Unlimited. DC Universe, it's down to 6 months. It used to be a year, so they're getting better. I would love it, love, and I want DC to finally do it. Just match Marvel and do 3 months. It's so much easier to wait instead of 6 months. I didn't mind 6 months, but waiting 3 months is so much easier to wait.
That jump from 6 to 3 is what pushed me to stop buying anything day and date. So
Mhm.
I now live in a world where I'm 3 months behind.
Yeah,
And
and it's not bad.
no, it's fine. And I don't follow the comic news as closely by design on purpose. I
Yeah.
purposely don't want to, because I know I follow the movies and the TV shows so much. I still have an idea of what's going on. I like knowing, like having no clue what's happening with the comics, or next to no clue.
Mm-hmm. And right now, outside of a certain clone coming back into play,
I am aware of that, yes. But I'm not caught up on. I mean, I'm Marvel Unlimited current with Spider-Man, but that's it. So I haven't
You'll get there. You'll get there.
I will.
But
and
all
I
right,
look forward to it.
If you haven't done the update, check it out. Let us know what you think of it. We're big fans. Again, some nice improvements, some things are still working out, but we appreciate Marvel Unlimited for listening to a lot of our issues, premiering some new stuff we weren't expecting, and we're going to be enjoying it. So until next week, stay safe out there. And again, Excelsior, true believers.
See you later.